over there. Oh no man, we need to plan 5 minutes break or start now. Start looking at anymore. Start looking at check. Yes, so we're gonna actually continue. Right, so now we're gonna look at the different structures of the animal cell first. So the animal cell is up in terms of the first structural component. We're now going to look at the shape of the animal cell. So it is actually saying that the shape of the animal cell, it actually has what is known as an irregular shape. So as you can see, you cannot attach a shape to it in terms of circle, box, rectangular, square. So this shape is known as irregular. Miller, you had the hand. Yeah. Yes, that is correct. Yes, that's what in terms of the amount of cells. Yes, that is correct. But in terms of that number, it is not like you're born with that 30 odd millions and no, what I'm saying is not it is not a situation where you're born with it and it lasts forever. Now those cells they constantly replacing each other. So yes, you will have approximately that amount, but as times goes by, the cells basically repair themselves. So it is not like you're yeah, right. So it's not like you're born with a certain amount and that lasts forever. No, as life progresses, the cells have to be replacing themselves constantly. Okay, yes. Right, so back to the structure of the animal cell. So the first point I saying that in terms of shape. So right away in terms of question, let's say for example I ask you to tell me what shape animal cell has, then you tell me that the shape is irregular. That means you cannot attach a fixed shape to it. Moving down to the second pointer, do not usually have a vacuole, but if present, they are very small. So looking at the diagram, the vacuole is right there at the bottom section there. Now the function for vacuole in a cell is normal. This is where water normally stored. Now in comparing animal cell versus plant cell, so this is the plant cell. If you look at the vacuole for the plant cell, it is much larger than the animal cell. Now the reason why the vacuole in plant cell is much larger than the one in animal is simple because plants make their own food, and in order for our plants to make their own food, they're going to need a lot of water. So that's why plant cell normally have a larger vacuole than animal cell. So animals such as human being, for example, we don't manufacture, we don't make our own food. Hence, we don't need a large vacuole. We only need a vacuole that is large enough to actually store the amount of water that is needed for our survival in the human body, but not to make food because we don't make our own food. Yes. The third pointer, cell membrane surrounding the cell component. So the cell membrane is what protect all of the inner component of the animal cell. So this line, the bright line that you're seeing that go right around the cell, it is known as the cell membrane. So the cell membrane is like a boundary that actually hold all of the cell component, prevent the cell component from interacting with anything outside of the cell.
So this how it's protecting it?
Right, yes. So that's one main function for the cell membrane, of a protection to the inner components of the cell. Looking at the plant cell now. So plant cells, they as what is known as a regular, a rectangular shape. So when you look at the cell now, you can say that yes, this look like a box. Yes, this look like a rectangle. So right away, that is a difference between animal cell and plant cell. So I can ask you to give me one difference between plant cell and animal cell. So if I should ask you that question, then you just simply tell me that animal cell has a irregular shape while plant cell has a rectangular shape. So that's the difference between plant cell and animal cell. All right. We're now going to spend some time to look at the components in more detail. So in terms of the cell organelles or the cell parts, so the heading said cell organelles. Some textbook, instead of saying cell organelles, they will say cell parts. So the first one is the cell membrane, which I would have looked at briefly, where they said that forms a boundary between the cell contents and the surroundings. And as you would have said that yes, it offers protection, and that is correct. Control the movement of substances into and out of the cell. So any substance that need to enter the cell, it is the cell membrane that control the amount. Any substance that's supposed to leave the cell membrane also do some amount of control. So on the slide you're being given two functions for the cell membrane. One is that it actually form a boundary between the contents and its surrounding, and two, it control the movement of substances in and out of the cell. And of course the cell membrane protect all of the inner cell component. Now both animal cell and plant cell of course has a cell membrane. Moving down to the next component, this one is now called the cytoplasm, and you can refer to the diagram and look where the cytoplasm is. So as for the animal cell, the cytoplasm is all of this space right there. So the cytoplasm is basically the space that is created by the cell membrane. So all of this space inside here is called the cytoplasm. So imagine that the room that you're in now. So the space that is created by the four walls and the roof and the ground that make up that room that you're in now. The space that you're looking at is the cytoplasm if you're comparing that space with the cell. So the cytoplasm is not something that can physically remove. It is just a space that is created by the boundary of the cell. So all of the cell activities, all of the components, they are actually found in the cytoplasm. So all cell activities take place in the cytoplasm. Moving on to another very key important component are cell organelle. This one is called the nucleus. So this is where chromosomes are found. The nucleus control the cell's activities. Now we normally refer to the nucleus as the brain of the cell. So just like how the brain control everything that the human body does in terms of coordinating, giving instruction, as for the cell itself, the nucleus is the brain of the cell. So the nucleus control and regulate every activity that takes place within the cell. So that is why it is normally referred to as the brain of the cell. Now moving down to the other component, mitochondrion. Alright, students, give me 5 minutes please. We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Okay, sir.
Yes.